I uninvited my brother to my celebration dinner because he wanted to bring his autistic nephew, who would get overstimulated, resulting in everyone leaving early, and he refused to let me pay for a babysitter to watch him. Posted by u/newway888. My sister and I, early 30s, have an older brother. He's on his second marriage. His first marriage gave me my nephew, Connor, 15. Connor is autistic. When he was born, at the time, sister-in-law's family was the village. My parents were also the village. My sister and I were not. This resulted in many arguments until I told my parents they could either have my brother and his family and I would go and see, or they could respect my boundaries and I'd still be around. They agreed. Eventually, my brother got a divorce because of marital problems, one of which was his ex-wife insisting that I and my sister step up and help. I felt bad for him, still do, but I wasn't going to change my stance. My sister didn't either. I have lived out of state for a bit and recently accepted a new job offer close to home. It came with a nice bonus, so I decided to invite my parents, sister, and brother out for dinner at my favorite KBBQ spot. My parents confirmed that it wasn't my brother's week with my nephew, so all was well and good. About a week before I got back home, my brother called and said his ex had something come up and that he had Connor the upcoming week and his current wife was going to be out of town with her sisters. I said no worries, and asked if he wanted to call his regular babysitter for Connor and I'd cover it for our dinner night. He said no. He wanted to bring Connor to the dinner and asked if we could change the venue because Connor gets overstimulated. I said no. This was my dinner, I'm paying for it, I'm going to my favorite place. He said, your nephew really can't handle a place like that. I said yes, I know. That's why I'm offering to cover paying for a babysitter for that night. He argued that he'll just bring Connor with him. I said he's welcome to do that, but then I'm not going, so it'll just be him and our parents. He told me that was messed up, that if Connor gets overstimulated, he'll just take him and go outside until he calms down. I reminded him the last time we went to a KBBQ place, Connor had a meltdown and they had to leave. My parents always feel bad for Connor, so they'll usually leave and go to my brother's house to help. I said I didn't want that happening. I wanted to have a nice dinner without having to worry about that. He told me to go screw myself and hung up. We went to dinner, my sister, my parents and I. My brother did not show up. It was a nice dinner. My parents enjoyed it too, but they said they wished my brother had come. I agreed. They then said they wished my nephew had come too. I did not agree. I said it would have likely resulted in my brother leaving after maybe 30 to 40 minutes of being there, and they would have followed him too. They agreed, but said I should have let him come anyway and just deal with it. I said that sounds like a good reason for me not to do that, and we didn't talk much that night after that. Ida? Edit, somebody suggested I post it here. I've babysat Connor before, even now I will watch him for a few hours if my brother has to do something. I don't watch him all day or overnight though. It's not his fault and he is no way a bad kid. However, I had to set boundaries because my parents and brother, mostly his ex-wife, would take a mile if you gave them an inch. They wanted my sister and I to stay local after high school so we could help with babysitting, and I was not about to do that. I did see both of them before I left, since I wanted to, but I did not apologize for wanting to eat my favorite spot and have it done my way for just one night. Whenever he, my brother, wants to have to dinner, we basically go to the same local spot because it's quiet and doesn't upset my nephew and it's his fixation when it comes to food. That's perfectly fine, and I go to those dinners, but for my dinner, I wanted it somewhere I enjoyed. Update 1. Next day. First, I wanted to thank everybody, positive or negative, for giving feedback. Whether it was good or bad, I did read every one of them, even the ones who called me an asshole. Totally valid. While I did see my brother and Connor before I left, it was more of just playing with Connor and making small talk with my brother. I decided today to call my brother to try and get more info and smooth things out. We talked for about 5 minutes before I broached the subject. I told him I was sorry if it felt like I was being unnecessarily mean or exclusionary to Connor, but that I felt I had a right to decide how to celebrate the way I wanted to. He said he was sorry that he snapped the way he did, and looking back, he realized Connor would have had an awful time and it would have been a big waste of money for me. The place we went to was about $80 a person, $40 for Connor whether he ate or not. He just really wanted him to be there too. I told him going forward, for things like my birthday, I would be more than happy to have lunch as a family with Connor at somewhere he likes so he can have a good time, then go to dinner at somewhere I want to eat at and I'd pay for a babysitter or his mom, my brother's ex, can watch him. He asked if Connor would be welcome at the dinner too, and I said I don't think so because I still plan to have KBBQ/hot pot/ sushi/ fine dining and Connor doesn't do well in those environments, light/sound/smell/atmosphere, which is why I brought up having lunch the day of/ beforehand so we can all celebrate and it be okay for him. But I was still standing firm that for my birthday, or something like another promotion, I wanted to go somewhere that I enjoyed without having to worry. I brought up also that when he took us out to lunch, was once a month before I moved, He picked or my parents picked and I uninvited my brother to my celebration dinner because he wanted to bring his autistic nephew, who would get overstimulated, resulting in everyone leaving early, and he refused to let me pay for a babysitter to watch him. Posted by u/newway888. My sister and I, early 30s, have an older brother. He's on his second marriage. His first marriage gave me my nephew, Connor, 15. Connor is autistic. When he was born, at the time, sister-in-law's family was the village. My parents were also the village. My sister and I were not. This resulted in many arguments until I told my parents they could either have my brother and his family and I would go NC, or they could respect my boundaries and I'd still be around. They agreed. Eventually, my brother got a divorce because of marital problems, one of which was his ex-wife insisting that I and my sister step up and help. I felt bad for him, still do, but I wasn't going to change my stance. My sister didn't either. I have lived out of state for a bit and recently accepted a new job offer close to home. It came with a nice bonus, so I decided to invite my parents, sister, and brother out for dinner at my favorite KBBQ spot. My parents confirmed that it wasn't my brother's week with my nephew, so all was well and good. About a week before I got back home, my brother called and said his ex had something come up and that he had Connor the upcoming week and his current wife was going to be out of town with her sisters. I said no worries, and asked if he wanted to call it update 2. Almost 7 months later. Hi. Me again. Was hoping I wouldn't have to post here again, but well, life had other plans. I, 31M, moved back to LA from Texas for a new job. My parents live here, as does my brother, 40M, his wife, and my nephew Connor, 16. Connor is autistic, and while he's made a lot of progress since he was 10, still struggles with a lot of things. He is nonverbal, stims often, and frequently has meltdowns. My brother, his wife, his ex-wife, and my parents are the only ones really able to calm him down. I regularly watch him once or twice a month so my brother and his wife can go see a movie or hang out. I do not watch him overnight or for several days consecutively, and it's always at their house. After our argument last time, my brother and I have been on pretty good terms. He hasn't really pushed boundaries about babysitting, and we've mended our relationship quite a bit. However, something came up recently that has us on rocky terms. My brother recently got news that he was selected to attend a conference out of the country. The company is putting him up in a hotel for 10 days, and while they won't pay for his wife to go, they have no problems if he pays her airfare and everything and occupies the room with him. I'm very happy my brother got this opportunity. The issue is childcare. The conference happens to align when my parents and sister are going to NYC for a week to celebrate my sister's birthday. Nothing is refundable and my parents promised my sister this over a year ago they'd do this. His ex-wife, Connor's biological mother, will also be out of town for work. So that leaves me. When he called me up to explain everything and ask, I told him no. However, I listed reasons for why I wouldn't do it. I live about 90 minutes away. Distance-wise, not that far, but LA traffic makes a lot of things more difficult than they should be. I don't mind making the drive once or twice a month when I'm watching him, but I do not want to make it 10 days in a row. Connor cannot come to my place because I have a cat and he is allergic, as well as me having things around the house that are fragile. I do not WFH, and Connor would still be in school, so I would have to likely put in PTO to do it logistically. The longest I've watched Connor was about 6 hours. He had a meltdown near the end that I was unable to calm him down from, and it was only my brother and his wife getting back 20 minutes later that saved me. I cannot picture myself doing it for 10 days straight. This one might sound really selfish, but I don't want to set a precedent. If I watch him overnight even once, I know my brother and his wife would push it on me again. I don't want that to be a thing. I'm happy with our arrangement of me watching him once or twice a month and hanging out with him with my brother and our parents. That being said, I would not hesitate to watch him during an emergency. But that is a totally different story. I explained this all to him. He wasn't happy. He went off on me about how he thought me being back would mean he could rely on me for this. I have said before, I am not an on-call babysitter, and his wife would really like to go on this trip. I said I'm sorry, but I'm not doing this. I said I would be happy to go and help her on the weekend he's not here and hang out with Connor, to give her a break, but I'm not going to risk my own mental health for 10 days and use 8 days of PTO to watch him for a non-emergency. He had a few choice words for me and hung up. He got my parents involved in the family group chat, and they surprisingly were on my side. They said it would be a really nice gesture if I did it, but reminded him that I've never watched Connor overnight and his wife doesn't have to go on this trip. He hasn't really talked to me since. I feel bad for his wife not being able to go, but I also don't trust myself to be able to handle Connor for 10 days. Am I a jerk here? Update 3. 6 days later. First, thank you to everyone who provided advice. I really appreciate it, and it helped know that I wasn't out of line. I messaged my brother. I said he has 2 options. Either he and or his wife stay home and watch Connor, or he works with the local agencies/care facilities. I apologize if I'm not using the right terms, to get respite care for him for as long as they are gone, and I check on him during the weekend. I would not be watching him, and I will not hear him out in regards to that. He called me and his wife got on the line and said that I know how she feels about other people watching him overnight, and how his mom feels too, and she's never been to this location before and it's on her bucket list. I said I'm aware, and that I'm assuming in that case she'd be staying home with Connor, and maybe she and my brother can take Connor there in the future. My brother tried to interject and I cut him off. Said I really don't care what he has to argue, I'm not here for it. As some of you suggested, I again pointed them towards local organizations and government entities dedicated to helping parents with children with special needs, but didn't really get anywhere. I was really burned out over everything, so I said good luck with the situation and hung up. I made a group chat with him and his wife and told him that, going forward, I will be visiting them once or twice a month. Meaning, one of them has to be there when I'm there. I'm not watching Connor alone anymore. I feel like this is a good compromise, letting me still hang out with Connor and also not being a caretaker. I told them that, maybe in the future, we can work back towards what we had before. But not anytime soon. They both wrote back paragraphs on how they were sorry but they had no other choice and thought maybe I'd do it for them, that this could be like a second honeymoon for them, and to please keep watching him for a day or two a month. That they'd even pay me for it. I told them no amount of payment is worth it. It's not fair to me, it's not fair to Connor. He is not my son, he is theirs. That they need to start working with agencies now, and get him accustomed to care and other people watching him, because our parents are getting old and soon they won't be an option. My brother responded that he and his wife will start the process, and get his ex involved too, but if that doesn't work, what are they going to do? I told them that it's on them. I'll happily join them in researching organizations and benefits, but if they have an inkling in their head that I'm going to do for them what my parents do, they are out of their minds. His wife asked if I would consider getting training and learning how to care for Connor like they do, and I shot that down. I am more than happy to be the fun uncle that drops by and hangs out, but I value my independence and I won't let that be compromised. Both of them eventually just gave me thumbs up emojis. His wife said she was going to stay home with Connor and not go on the trip, and said they'd see me in 2 weeks to have a hangout. We'll see what happens then, but at the very least, I'm not on the hook for watching him, and someone that can calm him is. I will do my best to keep pushing them to expand their circle and seek out other options and programs that help them with Connor, as I think that would greatly benefit the quality of life of all of them and prevent a situation like this from ever coming up again. Update 4. Almost 3 weeks later. Once again, thank you for all the comments and advice. They are all greatly appreciated. I went to hang out with my brother, Sil. I realized it was strange to call her my brother's wife the whole time, and Connor over at their house. My brother ordered pizza and he played with Connor while my Sil and I hung out in the living room. My Sil, surprisingly, apologized. She said she was very sorry with the way she was acting. She told me how, coming from the Midwest and her family, she's an only child, she was very used to seeing aunts and uncles take her and her cousins for a few days or weeks when parents had to do something. That they'd do sleepovers and the like, and always had parties at a different relative's house pretty regularly. She thought that based on her friends and how their families did roughly the same thing, that it was very commonplace. She did not expect me or my sister to rebuff that kind of relationship and be so against it. She said she understands now she was trying to force what she thought was normal, and she'll do her best to respect my wishes going forward. I thanked her for that. My brother came in with Connor, and while Connor was playing close by, my brother said he and my Sil planned to go therapy to come to terms with Connor getting older and start planning for the future. He said it was stupid to think our parents would be around forever, much as we both wish that. He's hoping in a few months they, my Sil and Connor's bio mom, will be comfortable enough to start leaving him overnight at respite care and with individuals trained to handle kids like Connor. My Sil joked that she hoped that in a few years, maybe they could all go to the destination my brother was going to. I was happy to hear that. I told them I am really happy they are moving forward, but I also wanted to lay out some things I want them to know. I'd be happy to go with them to check out care facilities and assisted living, I believe that is the term, facilities that Connor may go to when the inevitable happens. I'd be happy to, if something horrendous happens, make sure that their assets and savings are used to take care of Connor and his needs. I'd visit Connor at said facilities when he's there. I would not take on any kind of caretaker role now or ever. That is not something I want to do. If they ever try what they tried recently or attempted to broach the subject again, I would go LC/NC. I said this more politely than I wrote it, but that was the gist of it. I will accept being called an asshole for this, but I took some of your advice and spelled it out for them in case they weren't getting the message. I would never let Connor end up on the street, but I also would not let him live with me, and I would never be his guardian/adopt him. I would make sure he is with people who can handle and care for him the right way. Both of them took it pretty well, and were happy to know that I would make sure that I'd execute their wills correctly if it came down to it. My brother apologized again about the last argument. I told him I accept his apology, but, politely, to never ask me to do that again. I reminded him that his dream was to be a dad and have a family. My dream was to travel the world. I am going to start doing that soon, probably week-long trips at most, but that I wasn't going to ever sacrifice my happiness and youth to be a caretaker. I love Connor, but he's my nephew, not my child. And that I love him, my brother, too, but there are certain things I draw the line at. We hugged it out and had a good rest of the night. So that's that. I am really hoping that they keep to their word. I am so emotionally drained from all this, that I honestly don't think I could stand another situation like what happened prior. But here's to baby steps and small victories. Update 5. 8 months later from the previous update. Good, both my brother and Sil, and my former Sil, caved in and were able to make peace with Connor going to respite care. He's doing very good at it. Bad, back to NC with any of them. So, lot happened. After a few months, my brother got Sil and my former Sil on board with respite care. It wasn't particularly easy for any of them, and Connor did not take well to the first few attempts. But, thanks to some really awesome staff/caretakers, I apologize for not knowing the right term, he was able to be left in their care for a few days, then up to 2 weeks. My brother and Sil were pretty nervous at first, lots of phone calls to check up and whatnot, but they've been able to go on a few trips they had been wanting to go on. I was pretty happy for them. Connor also has gotten a lot better overall. They said he's still likely never going to be able to live by himself, but he throws far fewer temper tantrums and overall is just pretty much non-verbal with a few stims and habits. Additionally, my parents sold their house and moved into a retirement community where they also seem to be really enjoying themselves. Now the bad. My uncle had a Christmas party that a good deal of the family was invited to. My brother and Sil, and Connor, couldn't make it, nor could my parents. I went and had a good time. During the party, another uncle we'll call Jeff came up and asked if I could watch his daughter Stacy, 16F, for a weekend while he and his wife go to an adults-only wedding in another state. He and his wife are somewhat overprotective when it comes to Stacy, but just in the we don't feel comfortable leaving her alone for the weekend versus being complete helicopter parents. Stacy is a good kid, outside of calling My Chemical Romance Dad rock. I said sure. Stacy was there and I told her we could go to Disneyland for one of the days and she's welcome to bring a friend, my treat. She was very excited about that, and honestly, me too. I hadn't been to Disney in a few years now. Good stuff, so I thought. The next weekend, I was over at my brother's place to drop a few things off and hang out. I told him and Sil that I wouldn't be coming by on that particular weekend because I would be watching Stacy for the weekend, but I'd come by the next weekend. He said sounds good, but Sil got quiet. She said oh, well, you can take Connor next weekend to Disneyland too. I think he'd like that. I said no. My parents took him to Disneyland once when he was a few years younger and left after about an hour. They said it was a miserable experience for Connor and he was super overstimulated. I told her if they ever want to go to Disneyland, I'll happily tag along, but I'm not taking Connor with Stacy and I when even they haven't taken him to Disneyland and seen how he acts. I said it's not fair to any of us to be on the hook for that. She blew up. She went off on how he's gotten so much better, how he's so better behaved and has a ton more coping skills. I said I know. I said I was proud of her and my brother for getting him where he is now, and that I laid down, last time, what I was and willing to do. Taking him out for the day without either parent was on the not willing to do section. That's that. She went on ranting about how I'm a horrible uncle and it's a good thing I don't have kids. I said I agree on the not having kids part. I don't think that's something that'll ever be in my future. I like kids, I couldn't imagine raising them myself. She called me a few expletives and went into their bedroom and slammed the door. I asked my brother what the hell that was about. He told me that she's in a few groups for parents of kids with autism and they've been shaming her for having uninvolved aunts and uncles, my sister and I. I asked him what the fudge they meant by that, and rattled off everything I had done for Connor, be it financially or anything else. He said he knows, and he's brought that up and told them and her that, but they seem to zero in on they don't babysit. Do they actually love him? Even her own family has apparently given her grief for the fact that my sister and I don't babysit or take him on outings or have him over. He didn't defend them, but he didn't condone them either. I asked, brother to brother, if they were in therapy for all this. He said yes. He said she really loves him, and Connor, but she's also a big people pleaser and has a lot of family values that aren't being met. He said she got really sad that my parents sold the house, because now they can't host Connor anymore. They still visit and see him a few times a month, but it's not like before. I asked if there was anything else he was comfortable sharing. He said their sessions just usually devolve into her hounding him to ask me and my sister to be more active. I was shocked. I brought how many times I've said I'm not doing that, how my sister has gone essentially LC/NC and she still is bringing that up. He said yes. She's never going to be happy unless she has that. He begged me to come around. He'd pay me, he'd pay for my time off, he'd move closer to me if that's what it would take. I said no. None of that. I'm not doing any of that. I told him I thought we, my Sil, me, had an understanding about what my role was going to be. That they promised it was going to be okay. He was in tears, saying I know, but and went on about how it would make her world if I could just do some of the things she's asking. I knew it was a lost cause. I gave him a big hug and told him I'd always love him. I went to go hug Connor too. I told him that I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. I can't keep getting flooded and hounded by these requests. It's not fair to me. I asked that they both no longer contact me, to let my parents know anything important and they would relay that to me. He was on the couch stunned when I left. I felt horrible, but thinking about being asked to do that again and again was something I couldn't imagine going through again. I called my parents and told them what happened. They were upset but understood. They were very unhappy that she kept pushing when she said she'd stop. I told them I was getting a new number, and to please not share that with them. I also said I do not mind if they bring them up in our conversations or mention them, as I don't hate them, but ask that they not broach the topic of reuniting or talking again. I don't think that's something I can mentally handle. To be safe, I called my housing office the next day and asked if I could break my lease and move to a different complex they own in a different part of the city. They were, thankfully, very understanding and had no problem with it. So that's it. I'm happy Connor is doing better now, and my brother and Sil can take trips on their own with him being taken care of. I'll probably take a trip to Europe this summer to clear my head. I really wish things had worked out differently, but in the end, all of you were right. It was never going to be enough for them, and it took me going NC for them to stop. I really hope they do okay in the future. I'll always love my brother and Connor. Just going to have to be from afar now. Also Disneyland was a blast, holy. Galaxy's Edge was amazing. Still can't stomach how expensive it's gotten though.